I'll just read the quick quote here. I don't know whether the future for me and my wife and my three children is going to be here in Scotland or the United Kingdom or indeed in Europe and the West, because I have for some time really worried about the rise of Islamophobia. Why is your fear so deep-rooted?
Well, those riots are exactly the reason why I'm so worried about my family. Look, I am unapologetically Western. Born in the West, raised in the West.
Scottish as they come.
As Scottish as they come, right? and I don't make any apology for it. I'm a Western Muslim, living here in the West and don't want to leave the West. I led a Western government, very proud to have done so. One of the proudest achievements, in fact, the proudest achievement of my professional life. But can I honestly look my children in the eye, and they are the same colour as me, their names are different to the majority of the people in the population that live here. Can I look them in the eye and say that you will be safe in this country? And the honest answer to that is no, I can't say that. So my job isn't first and foremost as a politician or a member of the Scottish Parliament or a former First Minister. My first job and responsibility is as a father and as a husband. And as a father and as a husband, is Europe, is the West safe for Muslims? I have to say I'm not sure.
But does this something that go back years for you, like from your childhood? Because I remember there was an interview that you said that you didn't enjoy high school very much because you faced a lot of racism and you didn't feel like you fit in. Do you feel like this fear that you have stems from even further than just the recent events?
It does, because the normalization of Islamophobia, the normalization of xenophobia, anti-migrant hatred, is years in the making, decades in the making. I remember 9/11, the day after 9/11, being questioned by my school friends with no malicious intent. They were genuinely thought I had the answers to what happened the day before. They said to me, why did Muslims hate America? And by the way, why did Muslims fly that plane into the Twin Towers?
Right.
As though at 16 years old, I'm going to have any idea, any more than they would. But that to me was probably the first time in my life that I felt like, wait a minute, how different am I? And do I really belong here? And I'm afraid at that point, the political class in Europe, many in the political class in Europe, including those in the centre and the left, far too many decided to embrace that fear of Muslims and migrants, use it for their political advantage, as opposed to confront it. And that, to me, is why every Muslim I know, and I say this bar none, is wondering whether or not they have a future here in Europe. And that's dangerous for Europe, because if 25 million plus Muslims get up and leave Europe over the coming years and decades, then that is going to have serious consequences for Europe's economy, Europe's public services. Our NHS, think how reliant it is on migrant workers and those who are sons and daughters and grandchildren of migrants. So we are at a really critical juncture, and I say this again as a Westerner and as a Western Muslim, a really critical juncture here for the West. Do we confront the far right, or do we continue to adopt and mainstream the far right? Because if we do the latter, the consequences will be devastating for Europe.
But would you actually consider leaving Scotland or the UK?
Look, I don't want to leave Scotland or the UK, but if my children's safety was at question, I wouldn't think twice. My children's safety is the most important responsibility I have as their father. So wherever I think they are going to be the safest is where we as a family would be. But I would never want to leave Scotland. As I say, I'm as Scottish as they come. I had the privilege of leading the Scottish government. Why would I want to leave this beautiful country? So I wouldn't want to leave Scotland. I wouldn't want to leave the UK. I think the UK has had for decades a very proud story to tell on multiculturalism over the years. And that's why it frustrates me so much that politicians don't embrace that. It's one of the great strengths of the United Kingdom. Rishi Sunak, first Asian to ever occupy
Sadiq
that.
Khan,
yourself. Sadiq Khan, myself, there's others that have come. You wouldn't see that, by the way, in other countries in Europe. I don't think we'll see for many years, if not decades, the leader or the head of the government of another European country being a person of colour. I'd be astonished. But in the UK we did. That's something that we should be embracing as those who are politicians in power, not shying away from or using migrants, people of colour, as a scapegoat.
What if your critics say you're overreacting a bit? I mean, we get it about Islamophobia in the UK, we get that it's a real problem, but you saying that you fear that the West is no longer safe for Muslims is a bit of a overreaction. What would you say?
Well, I'd say go talk to any Muslim you know. Don't take my word for it. Absolutely fine not to accept what I say. That's your prerogative. Go talk to your Muslim neighbour. Go talk to your Muslim co-worker. Ask them, do they think the UK, Europe and the West is safe for Muslims? And don't just ask the UK. Go ask Muslims that you might come across in France or Germany or the United States. Ask them, do you feel safe? Can you confidently say that your future is here? By the way, I want the answer to that to be yes, because I don't want to leave. Why would I want to leave? Where my family is, where my home is, where my football club is that I love. You know, these are all integral parts of who I am. But if you don't take my word for it, talk to any Muslim, and every single Muslim, bar none, tells me that they're not sure if their future is in this country, let alone in Europe and the West.